Welcome to the first part one of the Embird Tutorials sponsored by OMLpatches.com. Well, what is Embird? Embird is a digitizing program that you can create your own designs to use on your home embroidery machines or professional commercial embroidery machines. Most people don't know where to start, so we're going to start right at the beginning. If you don't have a proper copy of Embird, you can go to embird.com and they have a 30-day trial that allows you to do everything. So you can play around with it. I encourage everyone to buy it. It's a great program. We have a $10,000 embroidery program and we use Embird every day. So it's a better one. So once you get everything set up, the download is very easy. They give you explanation of how to do it. Then we're going to start here, and this is called the Manager. So this is not where you're digitizing. This is basically where you're managing your files. You see I have a nice list of files there. You can't manipulate them. You can't do anything with them, but you can make a zip file if you're sending it out. You can attach it to emails. Up here is where you can go to the different places, which I'll be showing you shortly. You can print designs, you can do the size of designs. All this up here is how you set it up. So you want to set up your options if you want to measure in millimeters or inches, anything like that. You can do basic lettering and set it up. You can change the basic font size of what you're looking at. So basically it's just to manage. I open it up on this and take a look, but I don't use it. Here is, this isn't digitizing per se, but we're going to go right to here where it says Editor. And if you hover over everything, it tells you what it is. So we're going to go to Editor. And I had picked a design, and so it comes up in Editor. So here in Editor, you can do basic editing. You can add text. You can change parts of it. We're going to go in future videos, we're going to go into all of these things. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can merge, you can see it in 3D, which is kind of cool. That's exactly what it'll stitch out to be. You can do a stitch simulator, which is very handy to use, and I encourage everyone to use that as much as possible. You can rotate it. You can rotate it up and down, rotate it left and right, flip it, change the hoop size. We do that quite often. I'd like a 5x7 because that's more standard, and that's the size it'll be. You can make it bigger or smaller, but only up to 20%. If you do it any more than that, the stitch density is going to be wrong, and it'll either stitch too tight and break a needle, or stitch way too loose and look awful. The other thing you can do is down here you can check, I don't have an image, but you can look at the stitches. You can look at them 3D, which, a tan background, but that's exactly what it's going to stitch out to be. 3D matte, it just makes it a little flatter. Actual size, which it happens to be, just kind of a matte version. Density map, very handy. So yellow means it's a little bit dense. If you get red, if you have a whole bunch of red, you need to look at it again. The X-ray is also for density. All these brighter spots are showing where it's more dense, and if you have too much of it, it's not going to stitch out very well. So you need to go over it again. I just stick in the normal view on that. So that's a basic rundown of what you can do. Merge files. You can print out templates. We're going to have a video on that. Change the hoop size to see how you want. You can change the basic size of the design. You can add lettering. You can watch it stitch out. That's about it. It's digitizing, kind of editing your already digitized things. To get into the real digitizing, we want to go to Studio. This is where it all happens. So this is a PES file, and it tells you here how many stitches and all the information you need, but a PES file is not what you use in Studio. So let's flip over to Studio. Just give it a minute to flip. And there we go. Fast machine, fast machine. So I'll just align that for you. This is Studio. This is where all the digitizing happens. Now, in Studio, we create an EOF file, and that file, your machines can't run it It's a digitizing only file. You have to convert it to PES or DST or JEF, whatever kind of file your machine understands. But the EOF file, it's completely resizable. You can write small lettering here and you can make it 10 times bigger. It doesn't matter. You don't have to stick to the 20% rule. It's going to adjust everything to be exactly what you need. So what we're going to do, this is just an introduction. Now we understand the three different parts of Embird. It's a little bit confusing, but they're just different levels of what you can do. You can do everything in Studio. So we're just going to go over some of the tools, just to give you a, just an overview of what the tools are and what you can do with them and what they do. In future videos, we're going to be doing an in-depth look on how you work in Studio. We're going to be doing what else? Oh, all about stitches. That's another one because there's probably 10 million billion different kinds of stitches that you can create and use, and they all have different effects, but they all need to be used appropriately. You can't, for example, you can't use a satin stitch on something that's really wide because the stitches are way too long and they'll catch and it'll look awful. It'll pull the material. So you have to know what stitches you need to use and when. Another video we're going to do is how to change embroidery designs, and I'm going to be showing you a bit of that shortly. But again, this is just a basic run through. And we're going to have a series of probably 15 to 20 videos, and by the time you get it done with all these videos, you should be able to digitize everything and anything. And we're going to go through projects and a whole bunch of things. But again, this is just a beginning, just to give you a basic idea of what you're doing. So on the left-hand side here, you're going to see this is the pointer, obviously. We're going to bring a file in here so we can do some different things. I'll just pull one up that I had before. So here we have a really good, really cool design file. I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller and then go back to my other tool. So you can see it doesn't look like much, but that's because we haven't generated the stitches yet. And this is the generate stitches tool, which you kind of need to use all the time. So if you're looking at it like this, it's just basically an outline of where the machine's going. It's not giving you any details. So I'm just holding down the mouse key and making a box around it, and then it selects everything. You could also go over here and shift and hold down everything, but I just do it with the mouse. And you generate the stitches, and you just give it a second to generate. Still doesn't look like much, but when you slip over to 3D, that's what it looks like. So over here on the right, this is going to show you your colors, and it's going to show you the different parts. So that's the green. It's all in one part. It hasn't even been grouped. It's all in one part. This is the red. And it's all one color, but it looks different because they use different stitch angles, which is amazing. This is kind of the purpley brown, which gives it shading, which also changes the color. And this is the yellow middle of it. And that is the proper order. When you're digitizing, you need to plan everything out, but you start from the back and you make layers. Now you don't want too many layers on it because they're going to show through and it's going to be very difficult for your machine to stitch and take much longer for you to stitch. So yeah, you need to make a plan and set it all out, and I'm going to show you how this one stitches out because it's absolutely perfect. So next here is on the left is the points editor. Again, if you hover over, it'll tell you. It's not on mine, of course, but oh well. Points editor. So you can click on something and you can move the points around. If you don't like the way something's stitched, if you want to make a little bit of a change on it, you can move them around, make minor adjustments. We're just going to X out of that because we didn't want to do it. Zoom, you've seen me use. Just click and zoom, and you can really look. You can see the stitches. We're still in 3D, so you can see the stitches. You can see the stitch directions. You can see these are just manual stitches over it and gives it a wonderful effect. So we'll zoom back out. This button puts it right the proper size, which is too big for my screen. So again, I'll just make it smaller just so we can see. This is pan, this little hand there, pretty standard. So you can pan around and look at different things. This one is a basic fill stitch. So we're going to just, do something and close it. And you have, over on the right, you have things that you can do with it. Different fills, you click down, and we're going to go over all of these and what they do and how you should use them and how much space you need to use them in a future video. Gradient, we're going to talk about that. Auto column is basically satin stitches. That's probably pretty wide for a satin stitch, so you really don't want to use it. Motif stitches, pretty cool. It will only go on the lines that you have. Actually, no, it won't because I picked the solid. So it'll fill it with this design, these designs. They're kind of cool. Adds a great effect to things. Not what we're going to do right now. Plain fill. We'll just do plain fill. And then you go up here and you generate the stitches. If you click the check mark, then you just have to generate them after. So that's basically it. So you can move that around. You can make it huge. You can make it a whole lot smaller depending on what kind of stitches you have. And then you still have to generate the stitches. There we go. So that's that tool. Sfumato, we're going to go into that later. That's how you can make embroidery designs from photographs. So you can take a picture of your kid or your dog, and with a few clicks and a little bit of know-how and trial and error, you can create a actually really cool embroidery design that looks like the photograph. It's really neat. This button here is for making holes. Now you have to select what you're making a hole in, then you click that, and then you click out your design. I guess we'll just do like a triangle. Generate stitches, and there you go, you have a hole. That's one piece, this whole thing. Again, because we're in Studio, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, but that hole is always going to stay there. And you can see over on the right, I have to click off, the picture there, you can see that it has a hole in it. So that's that. Let's go back to normal, and then I can see what I'm doing. I usually function in normal. Carving. All right, let's go back to 3D. And we're going to generate the stitches. Carving is actually pretty cool. I don't think I quite have enough space, but I just clicked on carving, and you click your points however you want them to be, maybe just a zigzag. Again, generate stitches, and you can immediately see what effect that has. It carves out the stitches to make the design that you want. Kind of cool. I use it quite often. This tool here is for making columns, and you just kind of click around, and they're basically, except for I always do it backwards, basically satin stitches, and you can make, they kind of join up. We can go into that on a future video. I'm going to go through all these tools in depth about everything. This is basically the same except for it uses fill stitches instead of satin stitches. This next one here, it's similar to that design, except for it's only for outlining. So it just creates a single line. So over on the right, you have what kind of stitches you want to use. Again, there's a whole bunch of them. You can make your own on this one. Red work is just kind of thicker. Triple bean, it triples each penetration. So it's kind of looks like a bean and it's thicker. Of course, you can go real fancy and do the different ones, which you can make. These are basically kind of what you find on a sewing machine, except for way more elaborate. You can see there's quite a few going on here. Some of them are pretty neat. It adds a amazing effect, depending on what you want. If I wanted this outlined, I'll show you a faster way to do it, but you can outline it and it would have, like a frilly design or a Greek design, and just kind of adds a pretty border to it. Now, sketch is, it's kind of like satin stitches. Everyone knows a satin stitch goes up and down like that. Maybe I'll quickly just show you a satin stitch. Oh, X. So we're going to go outline. I'm just going to go like this. And we're going to go click here on satin stitch, and we are going to generate stitches. You can change the size and everything. I'm just not going to. So that is a satin stitch. Let's see if we can look at it normal. Oh, image, no. Vectors, we'll deal with that. So in a satin stitch, the machine goes very closely here, here, back and forth, and it gives it kind of a raised look, which is fantastic. If you wanted to outline this and make it stand out, you'd use a nice satin stitch. You can make it thick, not too thick. You can make it thin, a whole bunch of different things. So let's go back to where we were. Got off topic there, but it's all good information. So a sketch stitch is like a satin stitch, except for it's more spread out. So, because you can't go too big with satin stitches, you also can't go too small because it'll cut your material. Because all these little stitches are going in the same spot. So, sketch is for when you want, say this element was really small, but you wanted it outlined in another color. That's what you would use. So that's basic trial and error, but we'll figure that out. Um, Applique, awesome. It sets up the 3 files you need to do an applique. So if I wanted this as an applique and have the material in the middle, it's going to set up the outline, which is the first step of an applique, the tack down stitches, which is more like a sketch stitch but wider, just to hold down the material, and then it's going to do a satin stitch to hold everything down. It's going to do it automatically for you. It's fantastic. Border stitches are also, the rope one has to be the best. It's absolutely fantastic. There's different patterns, leaves. I know that's going out of your point of view there. There's wave at the bottom. I have a tendency to use the rope one quite often. It is absolutely beautiful. You can also make your own, which I'm going to teach you how to do because that's handy. I had to do a patch with a bicycle chain uh, round in a circle. And instead of, digitizing each one and then moving it and rotating it and copying it, moving and rotating it, I just made it into a border. And then you just draw out a circle and click on that, and there it is. We can do rope, I guess, just to show you how pretty it is. I just can't click today. You can go in and change the colors. I guess I could show you that. But see how pretty that is? And if you had the right colors on it, that would be absolutely fantastic. So that's how you design that. You can make that into a circle, square, anything you want. All right, moving on. I guess these ones we don't have to worry. This is measuring. Um, if you need to know how long something is, you just click and you click, and it gives you the angle. It gives you all the information here. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. It lets you, go in and adjust anything that you need.